Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. This might sound dramatic, and I'm going to say it anyway. If you want to change your life, you may need to stop listening to the same songs on repeat. Because music doesn't just reflect who we are, it reinforces it. The songs that you repeat become affirmations that your nervous system memorizes. Repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity creates identity. And music bypasses logic. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. I think I titled this one, Your Playlist is Programming You. And I did that because we need to be consciously aware of what's really happening, guys. So songs, they reinforce emotions, they reinforce memories, they reinforce self-concept, they reinforce nervous system states. So if you are constantly listening to, or if someone is constantly listening to heartbreak songs or rage songs or victim songs or despair songs, or nostalgia loops, their nervous system keeps rehearsing those emotions. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. And let me make this very clear right from the get-go. Music is not bad. I'm not saying music is bad. But what I am saying is repetition matters, and that's what we're going to talk about, okay? So, the best place to start is right here with music as emotional conditioning. I said this just a second ago, and it's worth repeating. Music is powerful. We all know this. I'm not telling you something that you don't already know. Music is powerful because it bypasses logic. You do not have to consciously think about a song for your body to respond to it. Your nervous system responds automatically. Think about when the beat comes on. Right? Your body starts moving to the beat. Your body's responding before you even may consciously be aware of what's going on. I want you to think about this, how a single song can instantly transport you to a season of your life. And look, it could be any kind of season of your life, right? A positive season, a really hard season, a season where you were learning and growing, a season where you were expanding. You can hear 3 seconds of something and suddenly you remember a person, a breakup, a first date, a version of yourself, a city, a trip, a feeling. We've all experienced that. Your body remembers before your mind even catches up. Because somatically, it's our body is holding it all. And that's all because, well, your body remembers before your mind even catches up when you hear that song, because music gets attached to emotional states, and it gets attached to memories, and it gets attached to identity. And then when we repeatedly listen to the same songs over and over again, especially emotionally charged songs, you are not just consuming sound, you are rehearsing emotional states. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about. Heartbreak songs. You can keep playing those heartbreak songs, and that will keep you emotionally inside the breakup long after the relationship has ended. Angry music that keeps your nervous system activated and aggressive. There was a song, oh my gosh, when I was a teen, there was a song I used to listen to. And I was like, it's funny now because I'm like, oh my gosh, that was, when I go driving, I stay in my lane, but getting cut off, it makes me insane. Oh my gosh, the song was really aggressive. And I remember I used to play it a lot. And I also remember my mental state at the time, right? And how I felt at the time. And I was continuing to play all that kind of music. And definitely it was keeping me inside of this. I can look back now and recognize this. It was keeping me inside of this anger loop. I had so much, I suppose, anger, and wasn't really sure how to process it in a healthy way, so I pushed it down. I didn't know, and it manifested more as depression and anxiety and things like that. So think back to when you were a teen. Think back to the songs that you played over and over and over again, and how that was part of your identity. Or can you look back now, just like I was just doing, and see a correlation between the music that you played and then whatever your emotional or mental state or whatever was at the time? I'm guessing you will be able to recognize patterns. You don't even have to look at anyone else's life. You can look at your own life and kind of go back and be like, oh wow, yeah, I can see the patterns there. Or maybe you do recognize that. Maybe you're a parent and you drive your teens around and they play their music, or at the house and you hear the music that they keep playing on repeat, and you know what's going on in their life, and you can see the connection between the music loops and where they are on their journey navigating this world as a teenager in 2026, So another example, I would say hopeless music that reinforces despair. And then there's the nostalgia music, which can be fun and great and on repeat, guys, that keeps you emotionally living in the past. And there's also chaotic music that keeps your body in stimulation instead of regulation. Again, this doesn't mean certain music is bad. That's not at all what I'm saying. Music can absolutely help us process emotions. It can help us feel seen. It can help us move grief and anger and sadness and joy. There's a difference between processing an emotion and then building a home there, though. And that's what we're talking about. So Your brain loves repetition. Your brain loves repetition. Repetition creates familiarity. And familiarity starts to feel safe, even when it's painful. So if every day your nervous system is being flooded with the same emotional themes, the same stories, the same energetic states, eventually your body starts to memorize them. You know, it's funny. I say funny, but I went to an inversion class the other day, handstands, and the teacher, I did a handstand and she commented something about my muscle memory. And she said, "Oh, you have really good muscle memory in this posture of what we were doing." And, you know, your body does do that. Even with, I was a hand lettering artist, professional hand lettering artist, full time. I did that for over half a decade full time. And there were some things that I wrote so many times on these certain boards that I would just sell hundreds of, or maybe even 1,000 of over the years. But I would write these certain words so many times that like it looked the exact same every time I wrote it because of the muscle memory, right? Like even think of your signature, you know, your signature is probably like that. You don't even have to think about it anymore. Your body just knows what to do. So tying your shoes, things like that. All that to say, your body memorizes things in the same way with your songs, with the emotional state, with the stories, with the themes, with the energy, all of the stuff. Which means at some point we have to ask ourselves, does my playlist reflect who I am becoming or who I've been rehearsing? So think about breakups. Think about the gym playlists, the sad girl music, the anger music, again, the nostalgia, the memory attachment, because your brain associates music with emotional states incredibly fast. And I know you know that. And also, again, we said it earlier, how one song can transport you instantly and how certain songs can totally reactivate identities. So that's why most people think they're just listening to music, but sometimes they are rehearsing an emotional state. So they're replaying the heartbreak songs when they're trying to move on. They're again, listening to the hopeless music when they're trying to be optimistic. And they're listening to chaos and they're wanting peace. So, is what you're listening to, are you consciously choosing it, or is it just like your favorites list, the same thing you've had on shuffle, on repeat forever? When's the last time you made a new playlist? You know, when's the last time you went and found new music, discovered new artists and all that kind of stuff? Because are you just listening to the same songs over and over? And do you have a certain thought that comes up every time that song comes on? Do you feel a certain way? Do you think, is it time to remove that song from your playlist and not have it be in the shuffle, in the rotation? Maybe. One thing that I've loved to do over the last couple years is I've become consciously aware of this in my own life, which is, I wanted to talk about it today. I was really excited. Was when I go to a good class, like at a studio, like a yoga studio, Pilates studio, wherever, where it's a group class. And the teacher has a great playlist, and I'll ask them after the class, hey, could you please send me that playlist? And I went to an ecstatic dance last week, which was awesome. And she had a great playlist, and I asked her after, hey, can you send me that playlist? So I've curated this wonderful collection. One time I was at a market event. My daughter was there baking. She had baked goods, and I was there with her. And the people next to us were playing this great music. And I was like, is that a playlist? Can you please send me that? Like, if I hear people, I'll ask for the playlist. And so this way, I've collected playlists from all kinds of different environments. So some are high energy, some are from like a yin yoga class, some are from a sweat and burn class where we're doing weights or something, so they're more high energy. They're the Market at the Oasis playlist, right? All these different things. So whatever mood I'm in or whatever I'm feeling that day, whatever energy I want to channel, I can find a playlist that at one time inspired me, put it on. There may be some songs that are familiar, maybe some playlists more than others, but it's nice because it's music that I know when I was in flow state, this music was like vibing. That was a state I like to be in. I can play this music, and there's nothing emotionally attached to it. I like the energy. I like, again, some of the songs I know, some I don't. It's fun. And I'm able to not unconsciously go into some sort of a loop because I'm listening to music that I've been listening to for years, or for whatever, it's just time to move on from. This is not about policing joy. This is a very important nuance that I want to make. I am not saying only listen to happy music. Never feel emotions. Spiritually bypass. That's not what we're saying. What I'm saying is music can heal, and music can validate, and music can help us process. At some point, you have to ask yourself whether the soundtrack still reflects who you are or who you have been. Are you expressing your emotions through your music or practicing them? These are just things you can ask yourself. I think of my own life, and different seasons have had different soundtracks. I reckon it's the same for you. There were certain songs, I kind of laughed when I said that because one came to mind, and this took me all the way back to teenage years. How certain songs kept you emotionally anchored. I think of the passion I would sing some of these songs with. Look, not even just as a teenager, even now as an adult, I'll do it. But especially, I just thinking back to, and I have 2 teens now, so sometimes I find myself doing this. And actually, this episode is dropping on May 11th. So yesterday was Mother's Day. And I have a 14 and a 16-year-old daughter whom I just love them so much. And I love being their mom. And they love music. Oh my gosh, they love music so much. they're always listening to music, it feels like. And I've discovered a lot of really great music from them. And it's always kind of fun when they play a song, they're like, oh, this just dropped. And they play the song and I'll know all the words and their jaw's on the ground because, guys, it's a remix of a song from the 90s. And that's why I know it. But it's kind of fun. And I remember how I see how much music is a part of their life. And I remember how much music was a part of my life. I did not have anyone that was specifically telling me when I was a teen and I was just staying in these loops, like a lot, like these songs, I was singing them like it was like my life depended on it. Like this was my, again, emotional anchor, and these songs were everything. It was my identity. I didn't have anyone to point out what we're talking about here and what I've always pointed out to my girls when they listen to some songs. I'm like, guys, I get the beat, the melody, the hook, the song, it hits. I get it. I just want to make sure that you understand that what they're actually saying in the lyrics, that's not cool. And I know they would be like, Mom, oh my gosh, we're not going to go do that. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. It's a country song. Is it Carrie Underwood? I love Carrie Underwood. She's adorable. But it's something about, I dug my key into the side of his pretty little 4-wheel drive and took a bat. It's basically like he cheated, so she is now doing like property damage. And I'm like, guys, and they would like turn it up and sing. I'm like, oh my God, I love you. I love that you love the song. I also just have to, I don't want you to start to believe that that's acceptable behavior. And I don't know whether or not they always loved me pointing stuff like that out, but felt like it was important to say because it's true. And again, they listen to good music. They understand. It's just something that's interesting. When you step back and you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of fun. So I think there's another thing that I also notice, how changing your environment and playlists shifted my states, or how changing your environment and your playlist can shift your state. I told you when I used to have the pretty much same songs. I mean, it was like a huge library of songs. And of course I had a bunch of playlists within the main library. But what I would sometimes do is just go to the main library and push shuffle. So I'm just listening to the songs that are in the library, never really discovering new music. And then I kind of became aware of this and saw what I was doing and recognized that some of these songs that were coming on did have too much emotional charge to them, or they were keeping my mind in a certain time period, or taking me back, or it just wasn't fresh. And I needed something fresh. And that's when I started doing what I told y'all earlier, and just really finding new music. If I would hear a song that I really liked, even if it wasn't a whole playlist, and I would do the little sound, I forget what it's called, but on your phone, or maybe you don't know, but on your phone, I have the option of Shazam, I think, where you can push it and it will tell you who is singing that song. And then I can go download that song. And, on Spotify, they're really good about, if you play one song by that artist, it will kind of keep sending other artists similar to that artist to kind of see what you vibe with. And so I've discovered a lot of new music that way as well. And what's been fun about finding new music is realizing it's never ending. It's never ending. There's so much new music. And of course, I love having favorites, and you hear a song that you love and you know all the words and it's fun. And I realized too that I was looping. I was really just allowing myself to keep replaying the same songs for a hot little minute there without really letting anything new in. And in doing so, I was blocking myself in a lot of ways. So another thing that I do quite often, and I love it, and I was just talking to someone the other day who also was saying that they do this, and I know I'm not alone in this. You may do this as well. I love music. I also love silence. And sometimes when I'm driving, even like a decent little road trip, a couple hours, I will drive without the music, without a podcast, without anything, and allow the silence to fill the space. And that's quite nice too. So something to put out there. And then other things that I do a lot more of now that were not something that were in my practice, I would say 10 or more years ago, or things like calming music. Like I have meditation playlists and frequency music, things like that are like by the beats and the nature sounds and just things like that that are more about intentionally curating energy. I really like that kind of vibe too. And then I'll typically make those more like sensory experiences where I'll light the incense and have all of these. Usually something's going on with the lighting, right? It's dimmed. There's candles or the black light or something like that, or no light with the sunlight coming through, things like that. I like to do all of that. I want to go right into this since I'm talking about relaxing and all of that. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And mental health is not only therapy and coping skills, it is also the environments that we repeatedly expose our nervous systems to. And music is an emotional environment. So that's one of the reasons I felt like today would be a good day to talk about this, because I did want to tie into mental health awareness, and I wanted to shine the light of your consciousness on this idea that music is contributing to your mental health, whether you realize it or not. And if you are consciously aware of that, then you can approach your relationship with music in a way that supports you and isn't unconsciously kind of sabotaging you or keeping you stuck or keeping you looping. And I've got some great episodes on looping. It was the Jessica episode. Let me see if I have my notebook right here. I do. Let me turn and see what number it was. Episode 79. You're not stuck, you're looping. So if you're interested in that one, check it out. And I want you to pay attention to what your nervous system rehearses every day. The songs you repeat, the thoughts you repeat, the stories you repeat. Okay, they all become familiar. And eventually, familiarity starts feeling like identity. So, changing your life, it does not always begin with some massive decision. Sometimes it begins by changing the soundtrack. That's what I'm going to invite you to do. Guys, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave a review. Take a screenshot. Send it to somebody that you know. Post it in your stories. Tag me. All right. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, or at BE_what you want. Or visit dreameditthenreallifedit.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.